So what did we learn from the Great Escape? Texas's Week 8 victory over Houston, the 31-24 victory over the Cougars, was a nail-biter. And a lot of people were surprised by that, especially after watching the first quarter and a half of the football game. It appeared that Texas was just going to steamroll Houston and really make a statement in this particular matchup. However, though, after the fake field goal conversion did not pan out, it seems like the entire momentum of the game shifted, and Texas just kind of got stuck in second gear offensively. They could not get anything going. And on the flip side of that, their pass defense just kind of melted down completely. Keeping all that in mind, though, there were three positives from this game that I think need to be mentioned. And from that point, we can see what we learned from this matchup and what we can apply to this week's game at home against BYU. The first thing that I truly enjoyed seeing in Texas's victory over Houston was the decisiveness of the running backs. Both Jonathan Brooks and C.J. Baxter were extremely decisive in their running game against Houston. Previously, for the past few weeks, there's been a lot of dancing around in the backfield. This past week, though, against Houston, it was all action. Both backs just went straight ahead and found the hole as they were moving forward. And I think you saw the difference in the quality of the running game. Texas had 141 yards total. 99 of those yards came from Jonathan Brooks on 20 carries. He's averaging almost 5 yards a carry in this game. I thought both running backs looked great this week. The second positive, the flip side of the equation I just mentioned, Texas's rushing defense. Texas only allowed Houston 14 yards of rushing. And again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I don't care who you're playing. If you only allow your opponent 14 yards of rushing, you're doing a damn good job of rush defense. The third positive of this game, Texas had 2 takeaways from Houston and committed 0 turnovers throughout the game. That turnover margin, that turnover ratio is so key. And if you go back to the Red River Shootout, that truly was the difference in the ball game. Here, Texas took care of the ball and ended up forcing 2 turnovers against Houston. And again, we see how important that is. That ended up being the difference in this football game. Areas for concern, obviously, Quinn Ewers going down. Another injury that's probably going to take him out of action at least 1 week. And I've seen the potential there for even maybe 3 or 4 weeks. With Ewers out, it appears that Malik Murphy is going to be the starting quarterback against BYU in Week 9. And not a lot is known about Malik, at least from the fan perspective. You ask the players and everyone that is asked says to the man, yeah, he's ready. He's ready to go. We've got no worries on that front. Second concern, and perhaps the biggest concern of all, is the passing defense. My goodness, Texas gave up 378 yards of passing offense against Houston. And man, that was just a gashing. They got split open in Houston last Saturday. And to be honest, for the most part, it was very simple routes that were doing the trick. It was a very simple crossing routes that did the most damage against the Texas secondary. That leads me to believe it's not a talent issue, it's just a scheme issue. So hopefully Coach Kwiatkowski can come up with something a little bit better to try and stymie those crossing routes. Concern number 3, we need to get more pressure on the opposing quarterback. Now, last week against the Cougs, we saw bursts of pressure, but we did not see the consistent quarterback pressure that we've seen in previous games. That needs to reappear against BYU in Week 9 if Texas wants to win the game. You simply cannot allow the opposing quarterback to sit back in the pocket for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 seconds and just kind of pick his spots. You've got to get someone in his face at all times. So overall, I was glad to see Texas come away with the win, even if it was probably the most nerve-wracking game I've watched since the 2009 Big 12 championship game. So that's what we learned coming off the Great Escape. It's not all bad, it's not all good. There are a few questions remaining. But I think keeping all of that in mind, as long as the coaches can address some of the fundamental issues we saw on the field Saturday against the Cougars, I think Texas is going to be just fine. Texas's next game, Saturday at 2:30 p.m. Central in Austin against BYU. I'm looking forward to watching that one. I'm really curious and intrigued to see what Malik Murphy can get done. I know he's got a cannon of an arm. He's a very young man, but the team has certainly thrown their support behind him. They've got full faith and credit in Malik Murphy, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see what he can do with the team on his back. This is Kevin in Texas saying God bless you. I'll talk to you later, and hook 'em horns.